So hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. Let's go ahead and get started. We're delighted to have you and excited to speak with you about how the membership economy can transform your marketing and sales operations, and more importantly, your marketing and sales outcomes. First, Opera Solutions is a global provider of advanced analytics software solutions that address the persistent problem of scaling big data analytics. Let's start with some quick introductions. I'm John Mack and I run marketing at Opera Solutions. I'll be moderating this session, asking questions, and adding a few perspectives along the way. But mostly I'll be letting our two panelists drive the dialogue. So first let me introduce Robbie Kelman-Baxter, our guest speaker. Robbie founded and manages Peninsula Strategies, a consulting firm that helps large companies maximize the return on their marketing investments. She's also the author of the best-selling book, The Membership Economy, which focuses on transforming ordinary customers into members for life. She developed the concept of the membership economy, and she'll bring a wealth of valuable insight to our conversation today. Thanks for joining us, Robbie.
Thanks for having me, and hello, everybody.
And also joining us is Opera Solutions Executive Vice President of Business Development, Matt Gwinnen. Matt is an expert in customer-centric growth and value realization using analytics. He has over 20 years of experience that spans multiple industries and business situations. Matt will share his perspectives on how the membership economy closely aligns with a concept called aspirational value and how businesses can generate quantifiable value by using big data analytics to transform ordinary marketing and sales operations into membership and service-oriented operations, thereby achieving and often exceeding the aspirational value for every customer. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Thanks very much, John. Glad to be here.
So before we jump in, I just wanted to let you know that if you have any questions during the webinar, you can submit them using the chat function, and we'll address them at the end, time permitting. So let me quickly outline what we want to achieve in the discussion today. When you start thinking about growing revenue and how to do so most effectively and sustainably, it helps to consider these 5 questions. Number 1, why should you consider modifying your approach to customer analytics, especially with regard to your existing customers? Number 2, what is the membership economy, and how does it align with the customer life cycle and the concept of customer lifetime value? Number 3, how are the concepts of the membership economy and aspirational value interrelated? Number 4, how can you apply these concepts in a practical way and use your big data assets more effectively to drive more profitable growth from your existing customers? And finally, what are some examples of companies that have successfully applied the principles of the membership economy, aspirational value, and a big data-driven customer engagement framework to significantly grow revenue from their existing customers? We've structured the discussion today as a dialogue between Robbie and Matt, each of whom brings a wealth of examples from various industries and companies. We'll try to make this as tangible and practical as possible and to keep the conversation moving quickly. An archived version of this webinar will be available online after we've concluded. A helpful place to start is a simple pyramid framework that shows different customer categories. Matt, can you walk us through this customer pyramid?
Sure, John. So this is a basic pyramid model that we use to classify customers in terms of the depth of the relationship and the relative value that they generate. And while the structure may seem to imply a linear progression, it definitely doesn't have to be. Prospective customers can enter the pyramid at any point. They may even become members with their very first purchase. In another recent webinar that Opera Solutions broadcast in June, we focused on what I would consider the middle 2 layers of this pyramid. Today, our main focus will be on the top member triangle, but many of the principles discussed today will apply to the top 3 levels as they all fall under the category of ongoing customer relationships. Only the purely transactional customer lacks a relationship with the business, but our premise is that a business should generally strive to convert such customers to relationship-centric customers. That's where the long-term value lies. So you may ask, why are we focusing on existing customers instead of new ones? Well, research demonstrates that what you probably already intuitively know. A business's existing customers generate higher revenue with a lower cost to serve than do new customers. The consulting firm Bain and the research firm Gartner have analyzed this, and the research shows that repeat customers spend 67% more than new customers. And increasing customer retention by just 5% can increase your profitability by anywhere from 25 to 100%. The implications of this are clear. Don't focus exclusively on new business development to drive revenue growth and profitability. Consider placing a disproportionate emphasis on your existing customers. It helps to look at it this way. A business must work to win transactional customers for each transaction. This means that some deliberate actions need to bring these customers to you. And since these customers don't engage with the business out of any sense of an ongoing relationship, Attracting these customers usually requires substantial effort on your part. The cost of each transaction is high, which means the net value of these customers is low. Subsequently, the more loyal your customers are, the more profit and growth they'll bring to your business.
Thanks for setting that up, Matt. That nicely lays the groundwork for everything further that we're going to want to discuss today. Robbie, could you please take us through the concept of the membership economy and tell us how you arrived at this construct?
Yeah, absolutely, John. So, the membership economy is a term that I coined to describe this massive transformation that I was seeing across virtually every kind of industry, and driven in great part by the significant advances in technology and big data that enables these kinds of new relationships. And it's really about a move from ownership to access, from one-time payments to recurring payments, from thinking about it as an anonymous transaction to a known ongoing relationship. And finally, it's about enabling communication among members as opposed to just one-way communication from the organization to the customers. And it's really fundamentally about a shift in parameters in the customer experience from one level to another in the way that Matt had described it earlier. The core concept really remains the same. And at the core of it is this idea of building a forever transaction with customers, which really changes how the organization thinks about their customers. I think about membership as being a mindset and not just like a list of boxes to check. I first started thinking about this model when I was consulting with Netflix, and this is about 14 years ago, and I'd already fallen in love with them as a consumer, but I fell in love with them as a consultant. As a consumer, I loved 3 out at a time. I loved that they seemed to get to know me. I didn't know that was big data analytics at the time, but they were recommending new titles for me in a way that seemed like they really knew me, which made me feel more loyal. And I loved that they solved the problem for me of always having great professionally created video content. And as a business person, I loved that they were generating recurring revenue. I saw that their costs were declining and their profits were increasing as I remained a loyal subscriber. And I loved how they were really feeding into basic human needs, like this much bigger idea that Abraham Maslow, the psychologist in the 1940s, described. This hierarchy that at the bottom we want to have our basic physiological needs met, but over time we want to mitigate risk. We want to feel like we belong and like we're recognized as unique individuals. We want to be held in high regard by our peers, and we want to achieve our highest and fullest potential. And I think membership does that. And anyway, when I was working with Netflix and sort of realizing these ideas, I thought this is where I want to focus my career and my research. And as I was falling in love with this model, everybody else was. And they were saying, hey, we want to be the Netflix of news, the Netflix of gaming, the Netflix of financial services, of hospitality, and so on. And, so how do you apply these principles in practice? If you have a going concern, what I always suggest to clients that I work with is to start with the organization and make sure that everybody in the organization is focused on a long-term formal relationship and seeing that transaction as the starting line and not the finish line, and having the metrics that support that. So, retention is way more important than acquisition, for example. And while it's important for sales to bring in new clients, what's really important is what you do once you get them. Understanding the acquisition funnel, which is traditionally a marketing function, is really important. And the value really moves down to the bottom of the funnel of understanding what do you do once somebody subscribes? How do you keep them? How do you engage them? How do you encourage them to bring in new members? And only once you're confident that that part of the funnel is really working do you invest in getting the loudspeaker and bringing in new people. Pricing moves to a recurring model, so you have to be sure you can keep people before you bring them in because the first payment is small. And you want to consider the use of free or freemium. A free trial is really just a taste of the most delicious thing you can offer for people who don't understand your value and what you provide, whereas freemium is the idea that you give them something of value forever for free, which can lead to changing people's behaviors. It can create a network effect where each new member is creating more value for the people who are there, or it can actually be a channel where you're bringing in new members because of the activity of the free members, which is something that you see with LinkedIn or SurveyMonkey or Skype or any of the other online communities. Onboarding becomes really important. That is what happens after the moment of transaction. How do you bring in a new member, make them feel welcome, help them understand how to get the most value from this experience? And customer success, which is really the flip side of that, which is who is actually going to help with that onboarding process and ensure that new members are getting value. It's kind of a new way of thinking about support. Instead of saying we're going to solve problems when people complain, you say we're going to reach out to people before they have problems so that they get the most value. And then finally, technology, which is really what we're going to be talking about a lot today, which is the fact that there are so many new ways to build a more personal relationship with our customers using technology, not the least of which is big data analytics. And the idea that every part of the organization should be thinking about how data and how analytics and how technology can help them do their jobs better. It doesn't mean that you have to be an expert on the technology itself. It means you have to understand how to consume that technology in a way that helps your business model. Sometimes people jump to subscription as being kind of the defining element of membership economy organizations, and in fact, they use the terms interchangeably, but it's just not true. Membership is about the mindset of the whole organization. It's about a forever transaction that centers on the customer's evolving needs. Lots of organizations are built around products or teams or the processes you've always done, but you can't do that. You've got to start with the people you want to serve and their missions and say to yourself, what is it we could promise our members that would justify them transitioning from being a consumer who's always evaluating whether or not they should buy from you, and every transaction is a new transaction, versus someone who's a member and they're committed. It's really a different way of looking at the world.
Well, thanks, Robbie. Now let's switch gears to aspirational value. You've all heard of customer lifetime value, CLV or LTV, and customer acquisition costs, but you may not have heard of aspirational value. We want to introduce you to this metric that acts as the keystone to your customer-facing activities and your big data analytics, technology architecture, and workflows. Matt, could you briefly walk us through the concept of AV and link it back to what Robbie has just shared with us about the membership economy?
Absolutely. Thanks, John. So aspirational value applies to an existing customer and is equivalent to the maximum potential spend a customer can bring to your business based on peak historical spend levels. You basically assign a numerical value to a customer's future spend based on their historical transactions with you. This doesn't necessarily imply that aspirational value is limited to the maximum level that a customer has spent in the past, but it establishes a basis for closing a gap to that level and then seeking new ways to elevate spend even further. So let's take a look at how aspirational value is calculated for a particular customer or a pool of customers and how that revenue level evolves over time. The blue line in the chart reflects historical transactions between you and your customers. A business can use historical spend patterns to establish a baseline spend target and then develop stretch targets that extend beyond the baseline target. The spend level associated with these stretch targets is often called aspirational value. The term aspirational refers both to the customer's aspiration to obtain specific products and services associated with a designated spend level and to a business's desire to motivate the customer to spend at that level. So simultaneously, aspirational value is both a demand concept and a supply concept. The green line shows the implied trend of spend between your customers and your business based on recent transaction patterns. In this case, you can see it's declining. These orange lines represent the opportunity ahead for you to correct that trajectory and bring it up to the desired level of spend. What you strive to achieve is to maximize your revenues by closing the gap to implied peak spend. Since this occurs as a process over time, you can and should measure progress towards that gap closure goal. Depending on how effective your gap closure is, you can consider whether it makes sense to establish a target spend level above the aspirational value. This may not make sense for all products and services, but if the business is successful in establishing a true membership relationship with the customer, the business's market offerings can also evolve to maintain relevance with customer needs and desires. Think about a business that sells clothing. If a customer's peak historical spend was solely for baby clothing for his children, that peak spend would most likely not repeat unless that business migrated the customer to spend in other clothing categories for the growing child and also for other members of the family. So a few key points to understand here. Aspirational value must conceptually be a flat line based on the peak. As you look at the chart, you'll see the line going across. The aspirational gap is the gap between how much the customer is spending and the aspirational value. So what's at play here for big data analytics? Big data analytics allow us to discover with precision the customer needs that drive demand, and then structure customer-facing activities and offers that are most likely to generate conversion, and measure the business progress towards achieving the associated revenue goals. Big data analytics take what looks like a simple gap closure exercise and impart the rigor of data science to it. This makes gap closure much more likely and allows the business to readily achieve more than just closing the gap. More can mean not only achieving higher revenue goal than the aspirational value implies, but strengthening the customer relationship by transforming the transactional engagement to a much more membership engagement driven relationship model. So the pretty diagrams here shouldn't imply that closing the gap is easy. However, the combination of framing the customer interactions in the context of membership, quantifying aspirational value, and applying the principles of data science to the orchestration of the customer journey can dramatically improve the marketing, sales, and effectiveness. Doing so helps the business maximize the opportunity from its existing customers.
Thanks, Matt. It's very helpful. So to recap quickly, we've already covered existing customers, the membership economy, and the forever transaction. Now let's bring it all together and discuss in more detail how companies can put these concepts to work. Let's focus specifically on the role of big data analytics in orchestrating the customer journey and how using big data analytics in conjunction with a customer engagement framework and aspirational value can help companies more effectively connect with their customers as members, sustainably higher levels of revenue growth.
All right, so the best place to start is with a simple customer engagement framework that illustrates the linkage between the customer journey and big data analytics. I'm going to talk through each step of this framework. Most people would agree that the customer's journey really isn't linear, but instead it's a twisted web of interactions and feedback loops that form a continuous process. But we've depicted the customer journey in linear terms here for the sake of simplicity. The journey consists of a customer lifecycle stages, and any business's goal should be to orchestrate the customer's experience across those stages, from discovery to purchase, from purchase to advocacy, and then on to repeat purchases over time. To accomplish these outcomes, the business structures and executes a set of initiatives and activities to create value. That's the second layer. To do so, the business relies on a trove of customer intelligence, essentially synthesized information that reflects the factors that stimulate customers' interest in the product and motivate the customer to buy and to buy again. Every business maintains some form of this customer intelligence layer, but we often see that many don't apply big data analytics in a sophisticated way to synthesize and curate that intelligence. Not applying big data analytics to shape and drive customer engagement reduces the completeness of the data picture surrounding the customer and dilutes the analytical rigor of these decisions. As a result, the business can miss opportunities and suboptimize revenue growth and profitability. Finally, we found that businesses can achieve superior outcomes using synthesized intelligence from a comprehensive big data platform to orchestrate the customer journey. Although the focus of today's discussion isn't on technology architecture, I'll talk more about this platform-centric approach later. Meanwhile, let's dive deeper into the various stages of this customer journey. If we simplify the winding path and feedback loops that characterize the customer journey into a more simplistic linear format, we get what you see here. Two broad dimensions define the customer journey in this view: customer acquisition and customer development. Marketing and sales professionals tend to focus most of their efforts on the activities that culminate in the customer purchasing a product, at which point their attention often reverts to repeating those same steps with other people who represent potential customers. The existing customer suddenly seems less important to the business. Since each of us is also someone else's customer, we know intuitively that the customer experience doesn't stop there, but instead continues through product fulfillment and post-sale support. We notice that when a business is treating us in a transactional way, examples would be ignoring us after the purchase or transparently goading us in to make another purchase. We also notice comparatively rare instances when the business treats our interactions as if they have an ongoing relationship with us. When I call with a question to the call center, I don't receive a sales pitch, just the answer that I sought. A thank you gift suddenly shows up in my mailbox or on my doorstep. And when a promotional offer does show up, it's tailored to my unspoken needs at that moment in time. These are the hallmarks of a business that embraces the membership economy. It's these kind of actions that allow the customer to proceed further in the customer journey and ultimately become loyal brand advocates.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Starbucks is a great example of this. They've really, done a great job. We all know who they are. They don't need to do anything more to drive awareness. But they've also worked really hard on the other side, on the loyalty side. Starting in 2009, they saw an opportunity to develop a loyalty program, and it now has 6 million plus enrolled customers. And of those, Starbucks has profiled about half of them and is able to use that information to send targeted messages, discounts directly to the customers' mobile devices. So even beyond the widespread awareness and the market penetration and the loyalty, they haven't stopped trying to nurture those members at each stages that you've outlined here.
Exactly, Robbie. So businesses that think this way truly understand how to naturally drive loyalty and advocacy and recurring revenue by fitting into the daily lives of their existing customers. Interactions with these customers aren't forced or contrived. Customers recognize this and build a stronger bond with the brand. To identify what types of interactions are most likely to resonate with specific customers, businesses need to develop highly accurate and detailed insights into prospective and existing customers. This level of insight just isn't possible or practical to develop without advanced personalization techniques that big data analytics afford.
Yeah, in the membership economy, all of those customer development activities, which are already built into the given business model, they happen faster and with less friction. I sort of think of it as a membership fast lane, which puts the business on a quick path to deeper ongoing relationships with the customer or member, which leads to higher revenue per customer, shorter time to results for the business. It also costs less to serve customers who've become members, so profitability improves both in terms of higher revenue and lower costs. It doesn't matter what your key benefit is, whether your business is about convenience, luxury, or you sell physical products or all kinds of services, you can benefit from greasing the wheels for all of your customer touch points. Remember, the customer journey, it's a repeating loop. You're building a relationship. You're constantly driving awareness, interest, desire, and purchase. And loyalty is something that has to be renewed and strengthened all the time. And if you do that, then you get the customer advocacy, that super user who is helping you to create a virtuous multiplier effect by spreading the word to your prospects and to other customers. Amazon Prime is a great example of this. So when they first launched, they had this very grandiose name that implies, the source of all life or everything in that region of the world. And similarly, that was their aspiration. But originally, they were just selling books. But then they evolved to sell everything else. And then they evolved to have a platform that supports retailers who sell everything else. And then they evolved to sell digital content and services. What's interesting is that they realized early that they were in the business of selling convenience. And they also saw an initial hurdle, which was shipping costs, because nobody wanted to pay shipping, and virtual shopping carts were being abandoned and searches cut short as soon as the shipping costs were revealed. So Amazon introduced Prime, which famously provides free shipping. Of course, it's not really free shipping. It's included shipping because you pay a fee for Prime, except for those of us who spend so much with Amazon that we go beyond the number of shipping that's covered by it. And then we're really getting a bigger discount due to our large volume of the course of the year. But what's really interesting is that Amazon is not only getting people to make more purchases, but they're actually able to better enrich their customer profile databases and have much more personalized data to make offers that further strengthen loyalty. Essentially, what they're doing is moving every Prime member into the fast lane. They no longer needed to fight for every transition. I am no longer consumer with Amazon. I'm not deciding, do I go to Amazon or somewhere else? I'm a member, and I buy everything at Amazon unless they don't have it. And this added volume from this new attitude really has more than made up for Amazon's, the fact that they're covering all the shipping costs. They launched Prime in 2005, and within 3 months, they had already broken even. And by 2012, the typical Prime member was already spending nearly 2.5 times as much as a regular Amazon customer.
That's a great example, Robbie, and all of us have experienced it. But none of this would be possible if Amazon hadn't made an investment in a customer intelligence repository that provided actionable insights on each of these 240 million active users. So how can a business use big data analytics to transform the ordinary customer experience into a membership experience? To shape the customer journey, a business needs to develop an accurate, relevant set of insights for each customer segment, and by extension, for each of its customers. These insights allow the business to shape and guide interactions with the customer at each stage of the customer journey. When we think of what big data analytics is actually doing to extract these insights from large sets of data, we're really talking about using data science to synthesize customer intelligence. When we package that technology in a technology architecture sense, we talk about organizing it into a customer intelligence layer. It really amounts to a more analytically rigorous and methodical approach to doing what businesses have always tried to do in their marketing, sales, and service efforts. Let's say one of my existing customers is named Mary, and I know that she can spend $5,000 a year on a particular product category. What can I do to capture as much of that spend as possible? We can use big data analytics to accurately illuminate high-interest categories and products, the drivers of purchase behavior, trade-off decisions, and relative levels of perceived value, trigger thresholds for that purchase, and drivers of post-purchase satisfaction. Big data analytics help us build a customer intelligence layer that showcase a holistic digital portrait of that customer with detail ranging far beyond basic demographics. It reveals a customer's known needs and unknown or subconscious needs and need states, allowing us to more accurately predict their future purchasing behaviors. It also allows us to package our customer interactions in a structured curriculum so that the business can serve the right offers at the right time through the right channels on the customer's terms while orchestrating a consistent and high-quality experience at all times.
Yeah, a company that does this really well is CVS. Their pharmacy, they run a really successful loyalty program, Extra Care, which relies on advanced data analytics to create more value for their 70 million customers. They've really embraced predictive analytics as a core capability. And what's interesting is they use it to create a more personalized experience with coupon development and issuance. The objectives are, 1, to provide coupons for the purchases you'd make anyway, and 2, to drive high volume purchases of higher margin items and new or additional product categories. So actually growing the relationship with their customers and deepening the understanding that the customer has of what CVS can provide. Since launching the program in 2001, CVS's revenues have increased by more than 500%. Their approach applies all of the principles we've discussed here, including using big data analytics to develop and maintain a customer intelligence layer.
Yeah. That is impressive, Robbie. And CVS isn't the only large retailer that's figured this out. Nordstrom, for instance, has a long history of investing in technologies and creating a highly tailored and constantly improving customer experience. These investments have allowed Nordstrom to establish market leadership by establishing a consistent multi-channel experience back as far as 2002, much ahead of other retailers. In addition to using standard market research and point-of-sale data, Nordstrom implemented a mobile technology that uses customers' mobile phones to identify customers who enter their stores. This technology pushes the customer profile information to the salespeople on the floor, allowing them to engage customers in a highly personalized and natural way. And they also use natural language processing technologies to mine user-generated content on the internet, which helps them identify key issues or trends and stay ahead of the changing preferences in their customer base. In addition, they have a fully integrated website and mobile app that ties into their inventory system and social apps. Essentially, Nordstrom's created an integrated fabric that enables employees and systems to more precisely orchestrate the customer experience.
Yeah, it's all about the customer. And they have one of the most effective loyalty programs on the market with nearly 5 million members who drive 40% of the company's total sales, which is truly staggering. It illustrates just how important existing customers are and just how valuable it is for businesses to embrace the membership economy.
Yeah, very true, Robbie. And I think Nordstrom fits the membership economy framework really strongly. And they're not stopping, with their progress today. They recently announced plans to add 5 million more members to their loyalty program over the next 12 months. That's a pretty incredible number, but it illustrates the power that they feel in big data analytics combined with the membership economy principles. So let's jump to the next level of our customer engagement framework that we just introduced, which is around the business initiatives and activities. This is where the principles of the membership economy are really easy to visualize. In the prior slide, we talked about the kinds of data that the businesses collect. Here we'll show how businesses can use that data to more effectively drive revenue. Imagine that we are a retailer that operates a nationwide chain of department stores, and that we're analyzing one of our customers, Mary. She's a busy and successful working mom who has a very high-profile job. She doesn't have much time to shop, but she can carve out time during her lunch break, since one of our stores is located very close to her office. As we pour through the repository of big data, we see how Mary's research and shopping activities reveal that she's contemplating a purchase of a new work bag. We can use that information to craft a personalized invitation for her to visit her local store during a lunch break and see the bag in person. Our analytics also reveal that Mary would probably be interested in purchasing a new designer purse as a luxury splurge, that she typically spends more than $100 on these types of splurges, and she generally shops on Thursdays. Just as we did with the work bag, we can structure a personalized way to reach out to Mary and experience the purse firsthand. Such an experience might take the form of an invitation to a special showing of the fall lineup of designer purses, a special preview of Gucci bags, or an exclusive invitation to a flash sale online to appeal to her, the budget shopper in her. We might also see that customers with similar profiles frequently dine at our in-store cafe, but Mary doesn't do that. As we expand our digital portrait of Mary, we see that she routinely shops at our stores and also at several of our top competitors, and that she's enrolled in multiple loyalty programs across competitive retailers. We have to keep an eye on Mary as a customer and realize that she has many choices, and recognize that we want to build that sense of membership with her over time and not take her business for granted. As we build and evolve the digital portrait of Mary, we can adjust our orchestration of her customer experiences accordingly to focus on what she considers the highest value activities, and which by extension are the highest value activities for our business. The key to this neat little scenario actually working, though, in the real world is to have the technology, infrastructure, and business processes in place so that you can act on the intelligence seamlessly. In the real world, things like this aren't always that easy, of course. And for each of these initiatives, there's invariably at least one hurdle that the retailer may face. Perhaps they don't have Mary's email address, or perhaps maybe she isn't available for lunch on Thursdays.
Yeah, and membership can help with those things by reducing friction, like having her email address on file or not putting any of the work on her at the register, or by providing something she finds so valuable that it encourages her to shop more frequently, changing her behavior and making lunch more realistic for her. The more she can appreciate the benefits of membership, the more loyal she will become. In my book, The Membership Economy, I talk about removing friction. And there's a lot of overlap between that and avoiding the hurdles that you're talking about here. The main thrust is that it has to be easy for the customer, and the customer needs to see the benefit of membership right away. That's why it's so easy, for example, to create a radio station on Pandora. You choose one song, and presto, you have a station for you. Now, realistically, it takes a few hours of listening to tune the station exactly the way you want it, but the initial setup is extremely fast and easy, and you get value right away. Pandora gets the benefit of your email address and the new data screen, so they can start targeting ads almost immediately.
Yep, you're right, Robbie. Pandora completely gets it. And big data analytics allow Pandora to suggest additional music selections and target more ads more precisely over time, all tailored to that customer's digital portrait, the device type that they use, and even their real-time location.
Yeah, the accuracy of predictive analytics can continuously improve over time as Pandora continues to enrich the profile data.
Yes, and Pandora is a great example on several levels. I'm a big Pandora fan myself. So far, you've both talked a lot about using big data analytics to orchestrate the customer experience. I thought it would make sense to quickly offer an analogy that makes that point with a rather striking photograph. So for the aviation enthusiasts in the audience, this might be a familiar photo to you. For everyone else, you're probably wondering, why are the wings on this plane pointed the wrong way? And how does this thing fly? And why on earth are we even talking about a military aircraft in a customer analytics webinar? So the X-29 fighter jet here is an unusual aircraft that makes a very powerful point about the importance of using big data analytics to orchestrate customer interactions. In this case, it is helpful to know that the plane is aerodynamically unstable. It was designed that way intentionally since the forward-swept wings impart substantially improved lift and maneuverability versus conventional aircraft wings. Besides the wings, the key component to this aircraft is the very intelligent computer system, which makes hundreds of tiny adjustments to the control surfaces on the wings every second. Without the computer making those adjustments constantly, the plane would spiral out of control or break up in flight, so not a good outcome. When we think about the customer journey, we can think about a fundamentally unstable process that requires constant orchestration in order to produce good outcomes. Big data analytics allows a business to know with precision which actions to take, when to take them, and how to modulate them with regard to each of its customers. Technology guides the orchestrated actions that the business user uses to engage with the customer. Businesses must be prepared to use that data to make mid-course adjustments to all of its interactions with customers. It isn't sufficient to have insight into their experience. The business must act on that insight and really try to control what happens next in the customer journey.
That's a great analogy, John. Very cool. So let's quickly circle back to our customer engagement framework, which I've labeled here to illustrate how Opera Solutions applies the concepts that we've been discussing. Opera Solutions has developed a unique platform-centric approach to big data analytics. We call this solution Signal Hub. It integrates and accelerates end-to-end analytic workflows, allowing companies to rapidly extract customer and market insights from their big data, package it for consumption and reuse, and share it as synthesized information across the business. So why is this unique? Signal Hub has reimagined the data stack and inserted a new technical construct called a signal layer, which produces the desired customer intelligence layer. This signal layer is a repository for the synthesized intelligence that an organization creates in the form of signals. It sits between an enterprise's data layer and the runtime applications that orchestrate the business activities that we just discussed in the prior section. Signal Hub uses predictive models to generate analytical output that help the businesses accurately predict customer behavior and take the right actions accordingly. People working in various business functions can use Signal Hub to more comprehensively understand business situations and make more precise, timely, and rapid decisions based on that updated understanding. Think of this as Big Data 2.0, where you're performing analytics at scale across multiple applications, multiple use cases, and multiple departments. So this slide provides a framework and a visual picture for how the whole customer engagement model fits together and can be applied to your business. Building on the customer intelligence layer from an insight engine, your business systematically executes personalized tactics to your target customers via multiple channels that are relevant and address each of the key moments of truth in their individual purchase journey and customer experience. Highly processed intelligence or signals trigger the right actions and responses during each stage of the purchase lifecycle based on your segmentation and targeting strategy. The system learns from each interaction and gets smarter as you build more history with each customer. And visually, you can start to see how the signals all fit together and makes it much easier for your organization to execute. So Robbie spoke a few minutes ago about the transactional hurdles that Amazon eliminated via the membership fast lane that they introduced with Amazon Prime, and how this effort really strengthened their membership and revenue growth with Amazon's customers. This slide depicts those hurdles as they exist with traditional approaches to big data analytics, which can leave a substantial untapped value in the form of an aspirational gap. See the shaded area that represents the difference between aspirational value in the business's current trajectory. What are these hurdles, you might ask? They can be business initiatives that may be directionally correct, but aren't precise enough to resonate with customers and drive the intended outcome. They can be promotions and offers that haven't been refreshed for some time and now only resonate with a fraction of that segment. They can even be the exact right set of actions derived from the hardcore data science, but delivered at the wrong time or through the wrong channel or via the wrong device. The core message here is that even when an organization is sophisticated enough to use big data analytics in lieu of vanilla customer analytics, using any big data analytics solution isn't sufficient to optimize value. An effective big data analytics platform removes these obstacles, much like Robbie talked about with removing the friction for the membership economy. We believe that our Signal Hub platform is in a class by itself because our approach simply does it better. Signal Hub streamlines and consolidates all the analytic workflows onto a single platform so that data scientists can focus most of their efforts on conducting the analysis instead of preparing the data. It allows the business to test and learn from the data to see which patterns are real and which hypotheses are accurate or not. It even incorporates artificial intelligence that allows predictive accuracy to continuously improve over time and shift with changing market and customer conditions. Beyond all that, you don't need to be a data scientist to use it. We've designed it in a way for the business user to easily master, and it integrates with the analytics software and other enterprise solutions that you're using today.
Yeah, so I love this idea because, you know, when I talk about the membership economy, I'm always talking about the what and the why and the importance that, you know, you need to understand how your customers feel, you need to adjust over time, you need to use the data that's being generated in order to improve their experience. But I don't get into the how, and the how is really tricky. You know, how do you get better precision of analysis? How do you do this in a timely way? How do you make it accessible for business people so they can engage in a more relevant, personalized, authentic way? That's really the tricky part.
Yep, that's just it, Robbie. And so it creates a powerful capability and helps the business close the aspirational gap and optimize the aspirational value while making it easier for the organization to execute.
Yeah, and then the customer is going to be more satisfied because their aspirations are being met. So it's kind of a win-win for the customer and the business.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, this is so helpful. I think it bears pointing out that there are a lot of areas where you need great analytics. In my book, I explain that after removing friction, businesses have to deliver value immediately and reward desired behaviors. Let me show a table that makes this point clearly. If you look at this table, you'll see that there's some stuff in pink or red, and that's the part that requires big data analytics, you know, like Signal Hub. And they're really critical for the membership, for the model to succeed.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear that data really plays an important role in enabling the membership economy, Robbie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to jump into a couple case studies that illustrate how we've applied these principles and technologies across a couple different industries. Let's get started. So the first one I want to discuss is with a retailer. The company is a large Fortune 100 retailer with millions of customers and thousands of locations. They operate in multiple categories that have increasingly grown mature and saturated, with competitors offering similar products. And so creating differentiation and engaging customers in a sustained way, despite having a loyalty program, was still a real challenge. With regard to data and customer insight, the company had gathered terabytes of data and used in-house analytics teams to generate insights. Despite taking these steps, they struggled to generate a complete and actionable intelligence set from the data. They also faced challenges to operationalize their data. By that I mean they struggled to convert customer profile data into more granular personas, known and unknown needs, preferred channels, or trigger points for actions. We call those signals. Without a complete synthesis of that data, the company was not able to provide timely, relevant, and accurate messages in the personalized way that they desired. Their contextual engagement capability was limited. They recognized that they were leaving revenue on the table versus what was truly possible. Growth was slowing, trips were down, and share of spend was also lower. By fundamentally transforming the process for generating customer insights and developing an ability to orchestrate relevant, precise, and timely customer engagement actions, the company was able to change its revenue growth trajectory while reducing the cost structure. The company needed to fundamentally transform its customer engagement model. So the company adopted Opera Solutions Signal Hub, which quickly began to generate tangible results. Signal Hub extracted and synthesized intelligence from the raw data in the form of signals and enabled a targeting methodology based on machine learning. This allowed the company to book over $120 million of incremental revenue in just the first 12 months alone, while the program was still officially in a controlled test mode. We also improved margins by over 10% during the same period, demonstrating not growth, but profitable growth. At this point, it was relatively easy for the company to grow revenue efficiently by simply promoting the products. The difference was the degree of precision in the analysis and the timeliness of that information, which allowed the company to become much more accurate and agile in its customer engagement approach. The customer has long since scaled up its use of Signal Hub beyond that initial test and is on track to close the aspirational gap that we identified in about 3 to 4 years. For this retailer, that equates to about $15 billion, a pretty large number. We were able to improve the quality, timeliness, and effectiveness of their business decisions. With Signal Hub, the retailer could more accurately predict store trips, allowing marketing to trigger the right offers and develop effective tactics to move customers from one need state to another. The compound effect of these improvements was evident in the rapid shrinkage of the aspirational gap. Perhaps best of all, the retailer didn't have to wait very long for these results to materialize. Within just 6 months, we were able to operationalize Signal Hub, start generating signals, and establish a new analytics workflow that continues to sustain the foundation for what we've put in place. So you might be wondering specifically how we worked with this retailer to achieve all this. I can give you a few highlights of the approach that we took. First, the retailer realized that the current analytics and marketing campaigns that they had in place weren't achieving the desired results. Marketing campaigns were episodic and weren't making sufficient use of the data that they already had. It was difficult for them to measure and assess what was working and what wasn't. Also, there was no way to truly understand how the different rule sets, the groups of offers for different targets were all working together across different customer segments. With Signal Hub, we were able to generate and operationalize a set of signals and deconstruct a lot of the business tactics and strategies into analytic assets that the business teams could utilize. So the net effect was that the business teams were able to manage the customers or customer segments over time using a structured, tailored curriculum that all fit together. It's important to remember here that the primary objective is to close the aspirational gap. This systematic approach allowed them to understand customers more deeply and more accurately and use that information to generate tactics and a game plan for precise orchestration on a sustained basis. Signal Hub's artificial intelligence functionality also plays a key role in delivering high-quality results over time, since it enables a test and learn capability that gets smarter over time as we implement these different business initiatives. Beyond those benefits, the retailer was also able to measure a P&L down to the individual customer or customer segment level. This level of granularity allows the business to know what it should stop doing and what it needs to do more of to continue to remove that friction with the members. With regards to data science process efficiency, we dramatically reduced the amount of time required to build analytic models because of our Signal Hub. It's no longer necessary to start the analysis with raw data every time. Instead, you have a set of signals that are operationalized and continually updated in the signal layer. This allows the data scientists to build new models in almost 1/10 the time, and they also are able to continuously use enriched data to support their ongoing business activities.
Yeah, it's worth noting that this company had a loyalty program in place, but as we've seen on many occasions, and probably every time we fly an airline, loyalty programs alone are not enough. Many of the retailer's actions that are highlighted in your case study that are made possible by your Signal Hub technology are the same actions that drive renewed memberships. This approach that's very test and learn oriented, refreshing the data constantly on an ongoing basis, allows businesses to tweak and adjust their offerings to close that aspirational gap faster, drive real loyalty, and improve revenue growth.
Yeah, that's a great insight, Robbie. So let's look at one more example in a very different industry. Within the travel and hospitality category, we're going to look at a gaming company. In this case, we had a top 5 casino and resort operator that was suffering a severe growth problem. Customers were leaving, their high rollers weren't rolling so high anymore, and their growth rate was declining. They wanted to increase spend and prevent attrition. The company understood the value of big data and had captured plenty of it, but really wasn't doing enough to leverage it. They also weren't incorporating enough of the outside data and were focused primarily on their own internal proprietary data set.
Yeah, in my book, I actually spent a lot of time, as you know, talking about Caesar's reward program. You know, they faced a lot of these same issues, and part of their response was to provide their members with a differentiated experience with meaningful benefits, starting at the moment that they sign up for the loyalty program. Caesars also empowered their frontline employees to use the member data to make it personal, not just working from a script, but actually customizing the experience for each member.
Yep, great example, Robbie. In fact, Signal Hub actually focused specifically on making marketing personal, and that's exactly what we did here. We started by anchoring the company's leadership team on the concept of aspirational value. We were able to quantify aspirational value at an individual customer level and develop highly tailored customer engagement actions. By personalizing each member's experience with the help of the insights and recommended actions from Signal Hub, the company was able to increase the amount that its patrons gambled by nearly 250%. Their EBITDA per customer improved by over 35%, and we unlocked up to $37 million in additional profits. Casinos, as you mentioned, Robbie, are all about loyalty, and there's an enormous opportunity not just to provide personalized service, but to really make patrons feel special. It's very different from other industries because casinos are about entertainment, hospitality, and luxury simultaneously. Compare that, say, to CVS or a credit card company, which are more about necessity and convenience. There are also many more in-person touchpoints in a casino that create multiple opportunities to provide one-on-one personalized service. So what were some of the specific aspects of our approach for this gaming operator? This casino operator used Signal Hub to link customer behavior to marketing promotions and pre-profile each customer based on his or her spend, as well as to the casino's theoretical wins against that customer. The company calculated the aspirational value and wallet share and predicted mid-session when a customer would most likely stop playing. This allowed the staff to make quick decisions to try and keep the customer at the slot machine, the craps table, etc. That's a perfect time, for example, to offer the customer a drink and engage them and continue to keep them gambling. The biggest one for the business teams was their ability to analyze all of their data, which allowed them to more accurately predict future profits. With Signal Hub, they gained complete visibility into their customers' journeys, allowing staff to seamlessly and continuously interact with customers, regardless of which staff member or staff function was dealing with the customer at any particular moment. For those who are familiar with casinos, you know all about the freebies that casinos tend to give away. With Signal Hub, the casino finally had a scientific way to decide what to give to whom based on a deep customer profile and more precise ability to link giveaways to a return on investment. The data science teams actually created 7 distinct applications to help the casino do everything from customer acquisition to determining how delighted a customer is versus how they should be. To do this, they created a curriculum management engine and developed a way to figure out the best channel through which to reach each customer. So whether they were facing a customer in person or emailing them a marketing promotion, they were sending the right message to the right person at the right time through the right channel, the Holy Grail.
Yeah, I mean, even if they didn't set out to become a membership company, they certainly took on some of those traits, and I think they really improved their position because of it. The customers were richer in terms of the experience they got, although maybe not richer in their wallets as a result.
That's great. Thank you very much for walking us through those. We've really covered a lot of ground here, Robbie and Matt, so thanks very much for sharing all those valuable insights and examples from those varying industries that you both have seen. I'm going to put your contact information on the screen here so that people can email you directly if they'd like to do that. And I'll leave this up while we open up the discussion to questions from the audience. And we've got a bunch of questions coming in here. So if please go ahead and use the chat function on your screen. And if that's not working, you can always email me at jmac@operasolutions.com. So let me start off with a couple of the questions that have come in. So it says, most of these examples that you provided in the discussion related to consumer-centric businesses. Is the concept of using big data analytics to drive aspirational value and transform customer relationships into memberships also applicable to B2B companies? If so, could you offer some examples? Robbie or Matt or both of you, what do you think? B2B examples?
Yeah. So what I would say is that behind every B in B2B, there's a C, a consumer, and there's really an A, it's a human being, and they have goals and objectives that they're trying to accomplish, and a mission that they're trying to achieve. And by observing their behaviors and understanding what motivates them, there's room to increase the value that you provide and close that aspirational gap. The one caveat that I'd point out is that when you're working with somebody who's operating within an organization on behalf of that organization, you actually have two layers of behavior that you need to understand. One is the behavior of the individual human being making the decisions, and the other is the behavior of the overall organization and perhaps other people that are also working there and engaging with the same products and services that your organization provides.
Fantastic. Another question here. Matt, do you have any perspectives there, or this other question might be a good one for you as well?
Sure. Go ahead, John.
Why does using a big data analytics platform for customer analytics make such a significant difference to the quality of business outcomes versus just using a big data solution that is not a platform?
Sure. I think there are a couple issues here, and the biggest thing that they'll find is by using a big data platform like Signal Hub, you're going to have a much more well-organized solution that drives a far greater productivity across the organization. The assets are organized in a way that the analyst and the data science team can take actions on them, and it'll dramatically improve the throughput of their analytic outcomes. The other big thing you'll get with a big data platform like Signal Hub is it's much more agility. So we've talked about removing the friction in the membership economy and all these different things that you need to do to stay out in front of your customers. Well, in order to do that, you have to have an integrated insights and actions platform that can keep up with those changes in the market. And the last thing I would say is everything in this market is about speed and reaction time. And when you have everything organized in a smart way with this curated intelligence, you're going to have much faster actions in time to results from your analytic activities.
Great, thanks. Good points. Here's a question probably for you, Robbie. How does a company truly know that it has migrated its customers from being mere customers to becoming, quote, members? Are there any metrics that clearly demonstrate this?
Yeah, so I would maybe, with all respect to the questioner, I would sort of flip this around and say, if you're moving to membership, if you want to move to membership, what should you be tracking? And what I would say, organizations don't accidentally become membership economy organizations. It has to do with your mindset and your focus on the evolving mission of your members and, in your language, closing that aspirational gap, saying, what more can I do for my members? It doesn't matter if it's not a product I offer today. I'm going to evolve to make sure that I'm solving their problems, and then they'll pay me well, which justifies the relationship. To do that, you have to really focus on, member satisfaction, retention of members, lifetime customer value as being way more important than new logos or number of new customers or overall awareness in the market, which are really kind of very old-fashioned metrics, I would say.
Fantastic. Thanks. I think we're approaching time, so I think we might just wrap it up for today. If you have additional questions, you can send them to any of the three of us there, and this presentation will be downloadable for you as well as being archived. So anyway, thank you very much for attending today. It's been fantastic, and I hope to hear from you again and be in touch.
Great. Thanks, John. Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.